So The Sound of Freedom was a movie concerned about child human trafficking, more just human trafficking because it's like it's talking more about children, but on the greater scheme of things, it's. I mean, we were talking about it before the podcast. It happens to also older females and older people in Mexico as well. Like, I mean, before I left home. My parents were watching the news and they're talking about two people that had gotten kidnapped in Mexico. They just got released by the cartels and type of stuff like that. You know what I mean? So this movie was kind of going over how. By the way, spoiler alert, because we're gonna kind of go in.
Spoil it, yeah.
You know, what I mean,
Spoil it for
basically.
me.
So the movie starts
call it
off.
what I called it
The
earlier.
movie starts off
My
with
bad.
this girl singing and beating this drum type of thing, and she's like, she has a really nice voice and all that type of stuff. Very little girl, bro. Probably like.
But you don't understand the message completely.
No.
What it means.
Yeah,
what
yeah.
She's singing.
She's just like.
It's in a It's like Latin dialect where you're like, what does this mean? But they don't let you know until the end of the film.
Yeah, so she's doing all that, and then the movie cuts to like her like asking her dad to be a part of like this talent agency type of thing, you know what I mean? So he does it, he takes her, and you can tell that the guy's a single dad and all that stuff. So he takes both kids actually, his daughter, which you could say maybe he's like 12 years old probably, and then the son is like 7 or something like that. Let's say those ages around that, 10, 7 years old. And then they take them, and then the lady that is doing this thing, you find out later on in the movie that she happens to be a beauty pageant winner from Colombia, you know, type of thing. So it's kind of like
That's the hook,
if you will, because I mean you don't know that at the beginning, but just later on that connection's like, oh, that's probably why he also trusted, you know, that person, because it was like she's a known figure or something like that.
Beauty pageant
But at the same time, like now that I'm thinking about that, if she really had that credential, maybe he didn't know it because he's in Honduras.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, but the thing is,
Because they don't get her sketched later on. But point is that he takes him there. I'm sorry, that tangent just hit me because not because of that detail. Whee! But he takes them to the place, and it's like it looks like just like an apartment building almost type of thing, and it has like
more like block studios. You know how like here in LA, like there's like studios where it's like each room. But when the door opens, like there's a bunch of kids, there's a
Cameras,
it looks like an audition place.
looks like the podcast. You know what I mean? Point is that like, so the two kids go inside and he wants to go inside, and she's like, oh no, come back at 7. And then she's like, all right, so he leaves. They take pictures of all the kids, and as they're taking pictures of the kids, they start to, especially to like, I mean, to each kid they do something different, like not to change their appearance almost, but to like adjust
them.
it. Like for example, the boy, he came in with a button. He had a polo shirt. He had a button-up shirt. They unbuttoned it and they cuffed up his sleeves right there, type of thing. That was just one detail that I
made
saw.
him look older, basically.
Yeah,
type
they
of thing.
sexualized them.
And then the girls, they like, she had her hair in a ponytail. They laid it down and like let it out in like a very flowing way, and then put like lipstick on her. Started taking pictures and all that stuff. So it's like all that stuff. And then the movie cuts to I think the agents here in LA, right? Mm-hmm. And then they're basically about to go in on a child predator like that. He's basically like passing on like information of children and all that type of stuff.
He's a broker of the children,
basically.
With the
you know what I mean? So they break in on him and all that stuff. They take him to jail and all that stuff. And then the agent starts talking to him. This agent's Tim Ballard, starts talking to him and like basically she's like takes him on a walk and all that stuff.
Hold on. He starts talking to him because Tim Ballard's partner asked him something specific. He asks him a question: how many perps have we put away? He's like, well, we've put away 228. And he asked, but how many children have we saved? He said 0. We never saved the children. That's not how our system works. He's like, wow. He's like, wouldn't we make a difference if we could save a child?
And his partner's resigning.
What Tim wants to do.
And his partner's resigning because he can't handle the stuff that he sees, especially that guy that they get, bro. When they break into his house, he has like files of kids from a bunch of different countries, bro. Like all these files are set up of like their pictures and like code names they've came up for them and all that stuff, like all this type of stuff. You know what I mean? So
and video footage of what's been done to them.
That too, bro.
And and the thing is that as agents, they have to watch it and like write notes on everything
that happened.
they had to log in all that data.
So you just see like him, like obviously you don't show,
Processing it.
yeah, and then you see him like him tearing up and all that stuff, and then that's when like he breaks in one moment. He goes to go talk to that guy, and he just starts talking to him and all that stuff, and then they like take a walk, and then he basically convinces him that he's like a pedo too, and he starts telling him all this
Why?
stuff.
Because he's like trying to fight the system, or what?
He's trying to get more information and trying to like really like, really get a real charge on this guy, type of thing. You know what I mean?
So it
'Cause they
makes him
don't-
think he's a pedophile. too?
Yeah. So he starts telling him all this stuff of like what they do and all that type of stuff, and then like he basically gets him out for a week, and during that time he like they go to Colombia I don't know where they go.
No. So he gets him out for a week.
But they meet up with people.
He meets up with people because he tells them that he wants to request the kid to sleep with.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, set it up so that I can sleep with the kid. And he sets it up. He meets the guy.
He surveils him, and they get all those photos
they get
too.
the evidence of who's the guy he's talking to. How are they passing the money? How are they setting this whole meetup up? He arrests the pedo, and then he goes to the border to then arrest the guy that's bringing the child that he's supposedly going to sleep with.
And then he arrests the original pedo again because he actually provided him a child. So at first he was like getting charged with some other shit. Then he gets charged for
Wait,
actually,
isn't that kind of
for
double
actually-
jeopardy?
huh? What do you mean? No, because one charge is like having to do with like a
But
different aspect
You
of
asked
it.
them. You tricked them into doing it though.
Yeah, that's one thing that I kind of question about
You manipulated him into
about the whole thing. I'm not gonna lie, That's something I did
because he
question while
wanted
watching
to
the
he
movie.
wanted to yeah, as far as what you're saying, as I'm collecting that, what you're gathering, what you guys are saying,
Mhm.
he manipulated him into getting a kid so that he could rescue him, right?
Mhm.
That was the intent. So it was
Yeah.
like you did
And it's interesting
you
because
did something questionable, but the end result was
he
for
works for Homeland Security too, which is interesting because they approved it, they allowed it to happen too.
oh shit.
So like, yeah, like he didn't do anything behind their back, basically. Like
Nah, he had his supervisor's approval through the whole thing.
especially to take him out of jail for a week and to get that whole process done. Like he let them do that, and then
this guy
process.
agreed to him getting let out for a week.
Yeah,
Well, the thing is that the guy doesn't know that he's getting out for a week. He thinks he's getting let go for free forever.
He's being
Yeah.
released.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
being released. They
But he-
make
But
it
on- but
seem
with
like
certain
that's
terms,
what's happening.
So that's what I'm saying. That's a
Yeah.
manipulation. right?
yeah.
So he's like let out on bail, or not on bail, but like
But yeah,
Similar to
they
that.
let
restriction.
they let him out with
Home
certain,
arrest.
with certain like also agreements. Like you're gonna like he was gonna help him provide certain things too, and like he went to another extent. Like you
But
know,
it's-
in
he
what
went to
did.
that extent because this guy,
Yeah,
made him
manipulated.
believe that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's because he gets to him by telling him, "Oh, I read your book, and your book is about this, and I believe this." So it's like he manipulates the guy into believing like, "Oh, he's really one of us."
Yeah,
And
And
what
then-
ignites everything from there is when
when they rescue the
when
rescues.
he rescues the first kid that he's ever rescued. He asks him for his real name. The kid gives him his code name. He's like, "I want to know your real name," and he gives him his real name. And then he takes this kid, to medical care. In medical care they tell him everything this kid has been through in the last few
Like
weeks.
he has lacerations that reflect being raped and all that.
Yeah. So then after he takes this kid to eat, and when he
This
takes
kid,
it-
bro, is like at the moment when he got taken, bro, he was like 7 years old. And when he gets taken
Yeah.
to eat, he asks him like, "Oh, what month is it?" He's like, "Oh, it's July." Happened to be almost parts of at the moment when we're watching the movie. It was July 12th or something like that, and we're on the 15th. So I was like, "Oh snap!" And he was like, "Oh, my birthday's back in April, so I'm 8 years old now." So he was gone for like a good amount of
Whole
time.
year.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Where he's like,
So when they're eating, they go to a diner and they're eating. He starts asking him like, "How did you get here? What happened?" So then this little kid then begins to tell him the story, right? He tells him how he was kidnapped from Honduras and he was taken to Colombia, and then from Colombia he was separated from his sister, and he was
Kidnapped the sister too.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
well, it was two
kidnapped
of
him and the sister.
Mhm.
So his sister
and all the
stayed in
kids that were in
Colombia.
that were in the whole thing too. By the way.
So when his sister stayed in Colombia, and then he was taken to Mexico by another guy. So And then in Mexico, he's taken to the border in TJ.
And it's the guy that the pedo meets up with to arrange for
And
the
basically
agent to buy.
They take him to like a stripper club, basically, and
In TJ, yeah.
in TJ, and basically it's like in the front it looks like, oh, it's just a strip joint, but he's like a special package for certain people if they want to do that at the strip joint. And like there's a female that like, oh, she gives him the code name. We're gonna name you this, and she's like, oh, you're gonna make me so much money, like, like she's telling him all this.
She's grooming him.
He basically, yeah. And as like he's telling the agent,
How did you guys feel when you guys watched this movie?
bro, my blood was boiling the entire time, bro. I was trying not to cuss.
There's a part in that
I was trying not to like walk out. I was trying not to throw things. I was real angry, bro.
There's a part
like, real angry
before
bro.
I don't know if it's before they're gonna cross the border or something like that. I think it's before they get caught. Where like he just got the kid and they're like in a hotel room or apartment, whatever, and he's like he has food for him. And he's eating, and then he's reaching for the next piece of bread, and he's like, "Oh no!" Like,
no, you gotta explain that. That's not what the agent. So this
that's not what the agent. It was the pedo already.
This is what like
the
when
pedo.
he's taken
That's
to
what I said
Mexico,
before he gets across, before he gets like rescued and all that.
When he's taken to Mexico.
Yeah, so like he's in there, and like the guy like withholds that second piece of bread from him, and he's like, "Oh no! Like the only way you're gonna get this is if you do me a favor or whatever like that." He's like, first of all, you have to do everything as I say, because if you don't, they're gonna hurt your sister, and all that type of stuff. And then he goes. He's like, and then all that type of stuff is like, if you do what I say, like you're gonna get the food and all that stuff. So this is before I think he even like raped him or anything. This is like initially when he first gets him into his possession, and he like the kid agrees. I mean, he has an 8, pretty sure and pretty good, all that type of stuff. So then and then all that stuff happens. So when I'm seeing that type of stuff too, it's just kind of like it's really a dark place. I mean, for just a human to really be able to manipulate and to like mess with a kid like that, and that shit, yeah, bro, it was very triggering. It was very
what I was telling him,
bro.
I was like, there's a lot of things where it's like you're triggered because like if you've been, for example, we've talked about this, how like we've gone through situations, so you're triggered because you're getting flashbacks of what might happen to you, what happened to you. You're triggered in that sense. And then you're also triggered because you're like, yo, why is this even happening? How are there people like this?
And especially, and like it's to that level too, where it's like they're about to use these kids for sexual purposes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So like it goes to that point, and then they rescue the kid, and he's telling him about all this stuff, and when they get separated, and then he's like asking. Then the dad comes back. They reunite the dad and the son, and then he starts asking like, "Please try to rescue my sister. This and that." And like he convinces the homeless kid to let him go to Colombia for a bit. He goes there. He connects with somebody that used to be formerly part of the. Well, he connects first with a policeman from Colombia. Then that guy connects him with someone that was formerly in the cartel with Colombia. He did his time. He came out. And then his whole thing was he started to buy children to basically set them free because he knew what was going on, especially in Colombia. And he's in Cartagena. This is where this whole thing was going down in Cartagena, which has like port out to the...
It's the ports to
Colombia.
The ocean. Right. Because the way they would transport kids out of Honduras is that they would put them on a ship container, and then that boat then goes to Colombia.
And it's like that's another thing that's we
that's how they do Asians
even before the movie we've seen shit like that. Yeah, just human trafficking. It does not even have to be just children. Humans in general are just put in a freaking shipping container, and sometimes, bro, they end up in China, dog.
That's what's crazy. Like
China, bro.
That's what's crazy. I feel like human necessity sometimes it makes people do extremes that, like you were saying the other day, like. What would you do if you're like you're broke and you just want your kid to reap some benefit for the family? Or something?
So taking her to the agency and all that.
You're taking advantage by your desperation of income or your desperation.
And he's a single dad,
and it was sad, like to hear that.
And his daughter does have talent, as is shown in the movie.
And think about it. Think about it. He's also leaving his daughter with a woman too. So he's him in his mind is probably also assuming like. It's better leaving it with a man, maybe. Like, and just, trying to think in his terms, maybe, type of thing. Being a single father and all that. And I'm like, bro, like, that's intense. So, basically they get to Cartagena, and then like the Colombian dude starts like telling him what he does and why and all that type of stuff, and again that how he used to be part of the cartel and all that stuff. But I'm trying to think after that, like what is it that happens, Manny? Is that when they start talking about
No, so he's trying to figure out how to get. He asked like who are the players that move people in Cartagena. So they tell him like, all right, this is the players that move things around, and he's trying to get to a specific lady, which is the lady that we're talking about that comes out in the beginning of the film. They're trying to get to her, but they tell him like, hey, no one gets to talk with her because she doesn't talk to anybody she doesn't trust or anybody she doesn't know. That's how she's been able to get away with this for years. Is that she only talks to people she knows and people she trusts.
Right.
She doesn't talk to newcomers. So the way they try to get to her, right, is by getting to one of her associates. So they get to one of her associates and they sell an idea to that associate. The idea is they want to do an island that they want to do like a pedo island basically off the coast of Colombia, and they want like people to pay $100K per kid, like to have the rich pay that much for kid, and they request that it needs to be 50 kids
at minimum
to be delivered. So they sell that idea to one of her associates, and then that associate gets excited. He brings it to the table to her and then other associates, and now they're willing to sit down and do it. However, the other part of it too is the agent talks to this billionaire who basically he has done work in the past with the CIA and for Homeland Security in order to catch bad guys. Where he'll participate, in doing things. So he asked him to fund this. He's like, I need you to fund this island. I need you to make it look legit. I need you to spend the millions. And this is all for the sake of saving children. So, like, the guy's willing to do it.
So he's gonna kind of do the opposite way of like, oh, we're gonna buy these kids freedom back, kind of in a sense.
But he's setting up the whole. He's providing the funds to orchestrate the whole
to make it seem like it's
it's legit. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, because they buy the island. They make it seem like they show the contract of
and
the
they
island,
also have to
everything,
technically
like,
pay for the kids that they're providing. So that's like so it's like paying to set them free basically too. So that happens and they set it up and like while he's trying to do it, like the Homeland Security pushes back and they basically pull him from doing it. And then like that's when the cartel guy's like, oh, we're fucked, we can't do anything about it.
And then even the billionaire pulls out at that point. Too.
Yeah. But there's something that happens again, and
so
that
it's like a curveball thing.
During
because the billionaire tells him, he's like, I was okay with it when the U.S. government approved it. I'm not okay with it of going solo.
Like a lone venture, type of stuff. But
why?
But so then he starts talking to them about like he starts asking the Colombian dude like, why did you start doing this? And he gives a story, bro, that like it tripped me out a lot. Because he starts saying how like he's like he did time in jail, right? And then he got out. He's like saying how he went back to the first day he just went to his high-rise apartment in Cartagena, 15th floor, just chilling. The second day he went back to the cartel life and doing all that stuff. And that one day he had gotten an escort and all that.
Well, he had gotten really drunk, he says.
Yeah, he had gotten an escort, and it was a girl that she was 20. She looked 25 or whatever. That's what she said. He did everything with her, and then at the end they were talking and whatnot, and then like turned out that like this girl basically happened to be 14 years old. And he said he's like, there's a moment where I looked into her eyes, and he's like, and for that moment I like looked into her soul. And he's like, and I saw just sadness. He's like, and then in that moment, yes,
but the darkness was.
He's like,
he said.
Yeah, he's like, but in that moment she left, and as soon as she left and closed the door, I realized that I was the darkness and the sadness in her eyes and all that type of stuff. And he was like, he had a gun ready to his head, and he was like, and there's always a moment that you ask if there's a God, and he was like, and when God tells you to do something, he was like, you don't hesitate. So that's when this guy heard that, and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna still pursue this. And then he does that, and that's when he still goes to the billionaire to tell him that, and the guy's like, nah, I'm not with it. And then the guy like goes away or whatever, and then he sends him a picture of that girl, of the sister of the boy, And she says like, if it's not for the 50 kids, just do it. Let's do it just for this one girl that was taken and all that type of stuff. So it's like that's where the guy like gets convinced to do it. So they do the whole island thing. They bring the 50 kids, and um, even in that whole thing, bro, like that they're able to catch the people and all that type of stuff. Like in that aspect, they caught over 50 kids, I believe. They're able to rescue 50 kids and caught the bad people, but the girl wasn't in it. She wasn't a part of that group.
Why?
Once they were able to interview the people, they found out that they had sold that girl before they had that whole thing had happened, and they happened to have sold her to
The guerrilla warriors.
the
of
guerrilla
Colombia.
warriors, yeah, los guerrilleros and the rebels of that were in Colombia that live in the jungle and all that type of stuff. So it's like that's kind of like somewhere where like the government doesn't even like to get involved because it's like
It's gorilla.
yeah, you know what I mean.
La guerrilla.
So then like that they're like, oh, well, you know, she's gone, we can't do anything about it, this and that. And then they're like thinking like, well, who are the only people that can go in there? And they going through and like, well, medical people are the only ones that can go in there. Like when they have vaccines or something, like there's a dengue or something like that. That's what the Colombian guy says. He's like, when there's a dengue or something like that, these guys need vaccines because their people start dying because they don't have the vaccines, they don't have things to combat it. So they're like, all right, that's the way they're gonna do it. So they do it where they get vaccines and they get fake IDs and all that type of stuff, and then they go through the river, and then they
Saw
get
that part, yeah.
they get caught up with
It's like a
those guys,
firefight, right?
huh?
The firefight, right?
That they just start shooting at them. They don't go in there with guns or anything like that.
Oh, they shoot at them. though.
Yeah. So they go to the thing, and he has to go alone because they don't let both of them go. So he goes alone, takes all the things with him. He meets with the guy, like the head guy and all that type of stuff, and he tells him like, oh, like I need to do these vaccines because you know, like if not, like you persons can get infected and they can die. And he's like, I need to just go through and see people who might be already like infected, and if someone's infected, it's better that we take them away to quarantine. And then he was like, that's like the procedure that we're following. And then he's like, this is the procedure I follow. He takes a lighter and he fucking lights up with the papers. He brings them and all that. And he's like, he just basically tell him like, yeah, but if you want, go ahead and check people. So he starts checking people to look for the girl. And then he eventually finds her, and like he says her name and all that stuff, and she like responds and all that. So then like at night he like sneaks around to find it, and those fools are all like, it's like a kind of like a classic story of these fools are all just in a bonfire getting drunk and singing songs because they have no other entertainment, you know what I mean?
Right.
So then they go to this fool finally finds the little girl.
At night.
Yeah, and then like she screams when she gets waken up. So he hears that, so he goes to check up on her. And this fool, when he does that, he tells her to calm down, all that stuff. He's gonna rescue her. And he's hiding underneath like wherever she's like laying on the bed, right? And then he's like, at first like he lays with her, and he like, bro, I thought that he was gonna rape her right where he was like while he was underneath it. I thought that's what was gonna happen in that movie, bro.
Oh, the bad guy?
Yeah, when like he goes to lay with her and all that stuff, I thought that he was gonna do it right then and there. I was like, damn.
So the agent's like
Underneath the
basically
bed,
goes
bro.
Underneath the bed, the main military guy comes in, the guerrillero. And
He's
he
the
starts
head.
calming her down, and then he pulls her, then he throws her on another bed. And
But
then-
initially he lays down with her, but so
Yeah.
when he did that, I thought I was like, nah, bro, like it's not about to happen with this food. Like I was like, you know what I mean? That's what I thought was gonna happen in the movie. But then he does that, and then that's when this food like hand-to-hand combat, and then basically puts out a Charles Oliveira and backs him, you know what I mean? And like there was no ref, so he chokes him out, you know what I'm saying?
So what about the other guys didn't see him fighting him?
No,
Nah.
nah. So that food that he's able to escape with the girl, but then his homies come to check on him, and then they realize that something happened, and they all have radios and stuff like that. So like there's someone like camped out right next to the river where he has to get away. So then like that's where they like kind of catch up to him, and then like he's able to get away and all that stuff though. So yeah, that's kind of how like
he
that.
reunites the dad with the daughter.
Mm-hmm. So that's how the whole movie kind of goes down and whatnot.
And then in the end, because the dad had bought her a drum for her to play when she comes home. In the end, she starts playing that drum, and you hear the same song that you heard her singing in the beginning. But now they put the subtitles of what it says, and the song is "God's children are not for sale."
Oh shit! In Spanish.
Yeah.
Nah, and is
It's
it in
like
Spanish?
kind of like a Latin. It doesn't sound like Spanish when she's singing it.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Interesting.
but he gave you the whole synopsis.
That's
to the
that's
whole
a-
movie, bro.
I'm
So
gonna-
now you don't even have to go watch
I
it.
don't gotta
You
watch
don't,
it,
bro.
man. I'm gonna have to wait for
Don't.
the stream.
Because Jimmy doesn't watch it till streaming anyway. And that was a spoiler alert for you guys anyway. So
Well, if you would have heard what the interview, he says that eventually Elon Musk has already said that he's willing to put it up on Twitter for everybody to see for free.
Why hasn't he?
So no, they're waiting for it to like continue,
You want to milk a cow, huh?
and then after it's hit theaters, then they're gonna release it. On
well, I
Twitter.
heard that in many. I don't know if it did. Or like, I need to check the numbers, but I had heard that it was beating Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible.
It also beat the
It
first
was-
week of
yeah,
Indiana Jones.
It beat Indiana Jones as well.
And the Element movie, right? The
Mhm.
So I mean, there was a lot of things where
'Cause
theaters
it was
were
released
not
on
not.
4th of July weekend,
Right.
and it beat all those. 4th
We
of
we
July
usually go to
movies.
Cinemark, bro. The closest Cinemark that had it was Baldwin Hills.
really these other ones don't have it.
Mm-mm. I mean, we went to go watch it at Regal Sherman Oaks.
Horrible theater, bro.
Which one is that from? North?
Regal.
That's old
That's
ArcLight.
where the ArcLight used to be.
You don't like it?
Horrible.
I used to
bro.
like their bar.
Nah, the ArcLight was bomb, bro.
They don't have a bar there no more.
Yeah, they
Now
still
it's
do.
Regal.
Yeah. So what's wrong with you?
But with Regal, bro, you could tell the upkeep. Bro, they didn't even have Apple Pay, bro.
They slid my card.
What do
They
you mean?
slided it. When's the last place you go somewhere they
Is that
slide your
Sherman
card?
Oaks Galleria?
Yeah.
Bro,
Me
it's
agüitan, me agüitan.
bad, bro. We went there just because they had it, but I would never go back to that theater again, bro.
Facts. Cinemark.
And
But screw
here's the
y'all
other-
for not having
Here's
it.
the other thing, bro. They don't have reclining seats. The whole
Oh,
time,
I stopped going there because of that.
like when I was sitting there, I was like, before the movie started, I told your brother, I was like, damn, we're spoiled, bro. I was
Facts.
like,
That's why I stopped going there.
I was like, yo, this doesn't feel right. This is not the position I watch a movie in the theater.
This fool sat down and was like, looking for the button and shit. Like, nothing's fucking working.
Really, you did that?
Yeah, bro. That's what he did, bro. And I was like, Manny, calm down. People are looking at you. Nah, bro. But it was also there was a message at the end of the movie. You can say a post-credit scene, if you will. If it pretty much was that. But another thing was that there was a timer that came up when the credits came in. It was like in 2 minutes this will come up. And it's like so that they keep people to come, and that's what I sent you basically, where he's talking about, you know, the importance of this movie being watched and all that type of stuff, and how like a lot of big groups, tech companies, and like other, you know, elites, if you will, were against this movie coming out. And at the end, they give a QR code that you can basically pay for other people's tickets. So if someone doesn't have the means to go watch it, they can still go. They can go on that link and watch it for free. They'll get a ticket to go watch it at the movie theater. And he explains how their goal is for people to watch it in theaters, so that like, because they feel like in theaters you're there without distraction. You're there watching it, and you're like watching the movie. You're not distracted by anything. So their goal is to people to watch it as much as possible in person. You know what I mean?
So you don't want me to watch it in the stream, huh?
You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, they're pretty sure they put it on there, but they're like now,
already
like you said, it's
pre-ordered.
also milking the cow in that aspect. You know,
I
what I mean?
pre-ordered already.
That's dope because my dad's waiting for that too, actually. Because
You know
I
what-
told him about it today.